everyone, this is Pallavi, coding instructor at the coding phase. Today we will discuss the concepts of development. Here we will learn everything about web development right in the basics. Web development, why should we learn it, where it is, everything we will cover this. Okay? Let us first start with a web app or maybe a website. A web app is an application or program that is used on a Windows server, and we can access it for. Okay, some of the examples of the recent or more commonly used websites are YouTube, Facebook, and more. Okay, so let us now come to what is a web. So I think I can show you here. See, look at this. Let's look at this web development, and it is kind of divided in. Okay, first one is HTML, second is CSS, third is JS. As I told you, HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets, and the JS stands for Java Script. We will be understanding, we will have an idea of all three of them. And okay, let us first try to understand this HTML and CSS with the help of example. Okay, so we will take a very realistic example over here. Let's say this is a canvas, and I really want to paint this canvas. Okay, so initially let's say I want to paint a scenery on this canvas. So initially the very first step is I will have to decide what all components I want on this canvas, right? So let's say I'll be needing some mountains like this, like this. Next, I'll be needing some sun over here, then some sort of river flowing. Okay, let's say like this. Excuse me about my bad drawing, not that good, but it's kind of river over here, and let's say somewhere here I want a tree. Okay, here like this. So my very first step was to decide what components I want on my canvas. Similarly, while creating a website, my first and foremost step is to decide what all components I want on a website. For example, on YouTube, let's say I'll open YouTube for you over here. Let's say YouTube. Okay, so now this YouTube website have different components on it, right? For example, at the top there might be a search box, and over here there should be some let it load. I'll just wait for it. Okay, it's not responding. That's completely fine. I'll just give you an idea. Okay, or maybe we can take another example. I think it's loading. So see, I mean, we need to have an idea. See, over here is a search box where you can type and press this search button. Okay, here at the top right corner is your the image that appears. That is kind of your account that you have logged in. Okay, then the small videos, I mean preview of the videos which is available here. Okay, so here we first need to decide what all components we need. Okay, so these are the components, different components, just like mountains, just like trees, etc., etc. Okay, so in the website, we will first decide what components we want. Okay, then once we decide, we need to draw the components on the canvas, like hills I have drawn, trees, rivers, sun, all those stuff. So the same way, next is we have to put, or maybe draw those components on a website. How? All of these components are drawn with the help of a tags. Okay, basically HTML is all about putting different tags together. What are tags? We'll come to it in some time. But for now, let us just consider HTML is made up of tags. And what are tags? Tags are a way to bring the components on the screen on a website. Now let's come to CSS. What is the CSS? CSS is cascading style sheets. Basically, as the name suggests, this style represents styling of the website. All right. So just like we need to style this scenery on the canvas by putting putting some colors onto it, maybe a tree as green, mountains as brown, sun, whatever. I mean, if it is a daytime, you're gonna put it orange, and if it is maybe a sunset or a sunrise, you're gonna give it little darker orange, maybe closer to red. All right, all those stuff. Sky will be orange in case of sunrise or sunset. So all these things, how my canvas or the scenery looks like, basically comes under the CSS. So CSS is quite similar to this process. CSS is applying the styling part on the website. What should be my background of the website? What should be the color of the text, size of the text, the font style, right? All those stuff. So basically, CSS tells how my website will look. Okay, we are done with HTML and CSS now. Let's look into this JavaScript. See, JavaScript is all about mentioning the functionality of our website. For example, if I have placed a button, okay, on our website, then what it should do whenever, what the website should do whenever the button is clicked, right? There are different options. Maybe, if you have entered some details, when we click on the submit button, it should submit the details. Then another example is it should lead you to another page kind of thing. So whatever functionality, whatever the web page should do comes under this JS. Clear? So we are now done with HTML, what it is, CSS, what it is, and JS, what it is. Okay. So just to brief you out, let me write it here. HTML is about what components we want. CSS is about what components should. Okay, so okay, so let me try to explain what components. Just a second. So here is okay. So we were here CSS. Okay, so CSS about what components should look like. Okay, should look like. And finally, the JS is all about what components should do. Clear? Okay. So I think we are good to go go deeper into the concepts now. As we already know what is HTML, what is CSS, what is JS. So this was all about the basics of each of it. Okay, just the introduction part of it. Okay, so let us go back to our slide. And okay, next is what are tags? Okay, so the introduction part we have already done. Okay, so now what are tags in HTML? See, tags, as I already told you, are the ways in which we can uh, tell the website what all components we need. Okay, so for example, I'll just again switch to the whiteboard. Let's say, for example, I want to tell that I want a kind of heading in my website. So what I will kind of write about. Let's say I want a heading as my favorite my favorite car. Okay, so my favorite car, I want to give this heading. So what I'll do, I'll use a tag to tell that my heading starts from here. Okay, now the tag that tells my heading starts from here is the H tag. Okay, H1. We'll talk about these tags later on, I mean each one of it. But for now, just imagine my heading starts from here. I'm going to tell it with the help of a tag. We call it as opening tag. Opening tag means my content of this tag will start from here. Okay, so that means my heading starts from here. Okay, now since my favorite car, I have written it. Now I need to close H1. Why? Because see, whenever we mention the starting of anything, we also need to mention a ending of that thing, right? Okay, so here this is a opening tag and this is a closing tag. Okay, what's the difference? See, if you notice, there is a slash before H1. So this slash tells us that this is actually the closing tag. Closing tag always have a slash after the bracket. Okay. So every tag is made up of opening and the closing tag. Okay. So tags are always in pairs, opening and closing. Of course, exceptions are always there, but 95% tags are always, tags always comes in pairs. Clear? So we will be discussing about each of the tags and in detail as we will move on. Okay, so now here next um, thing that we're going to talk about is, okay, sorry. So next thing that we're going to talk about is the basic structure of a HTML code or a HTML file. Okay, so I'll just come here, HTML. Okay, I think tags I already told you, attributes we'll be discussing in next few minutes. Okay. Okay, one thing I think I skipped here is types of HTML tags. See, basically there are two types of HTML tags. One is the container tags and second is the empty tags. See, whenever the tag comes in pair, for example, the heading tag as I showed you, it has opening as well as the closing. We call it as a container tag. And as I told you, exceptions are always there. There are certain tags that do not need the closing of the tags. Okay, for example, I'll just show it to you. Let's say I want to draw a horizontal line. Okay, I want to draw a horizontal line below the heading. Okay, let's say like this. That should divide the entire um, kind of website like this. So we don't need to mention that my line should start from here and end till here, end here. Okay, in that case, we can simply mention a HR tag. HR tag is a horizontal line tag. Okay, so we just need a horizontal line. That's it. We don't need, to tell from here my line should start, from here my line should end. It will be, just simply divide the entire page by drawing a line running from your left end till the right end of the page. So any such tags that do not need, closing. So here in this case, we do not need this slash HR. Okay. So all those tags which do not need this closing, we call them as empty tags. Clear? Empty tags. We will be discussing, looking at different examples, in the next few minutes. So I think the next is uh, basic structure of a HTML. Basic structure of Okay, so I think you must have enjoyed today's session and we'll be waiting for our next content. All right, so see you in the next class. Bye bye. Happy learning.